Well, good evening, everybody. It is 7 o'clock on Wednesday, and I am your host from Lionel, Ryan. We are here with another fun edition of Workbench Wednesday as we gather some people into the studio and get started for tonight. Tonight will be part two of our two-session Build Along With Me project. We started 2 weeks ago with kits. Everyone started with their own kit. Hopefully, maybe you've done a little bit of work on them in between. And now tonight we're going to try and wrap things up a little bit. Hopefully, give you all a chance to finish up what you've worked on. Hopefully, you're working along with me on your workbench, or you're catching up as time goes in between. We'll go back and forth here, take a look at the progress in just a minute. Want to remind everybody, hi John, good to have you on board as we get some people in here. Tomorrow, sometime in the middle of the day, as soon as I have a chance to do so, as I get into the office and get through all the other things on the plate, we'll be putting a post up on our Facebook account, our Lionel Trains Facebook page. You'll see a photo there of the finished project from tonight, and then an opportunity there to respond to that post with a picture of your own work, your own kit that you've been building along with us to inspire everybody else with creativity and talent and so forth. Just the camaraderie and the fun of modeling. And when you reply to that with your picture, we're going to take all the entries that we get there and put you into a contest and a raffle that we'll be raffling off a $25 gift card for LionelStore.com. So if you've been building along, not only do you have the fun of building a kit, but you have a chance to win money to spend on more kits. So it's a wonderful, wonderful project. So good evening to Dylan and Thomas and Joe. Thank you all for joining in. I'm guessing, since I haven't heard by now that you can't hear me, that the mic is working just fine and everything is set up and good to go. So with that in mind, I'm going to get straight into the kit because I'm going to finish this thing tonight. We've got a lot going on. Hey, Chuck, good to have you on board again with us. Let me bring up the messy workbench camera here so you can all see what I've been up to. Try and make that a little bit bigger so you can see it better. All right. So we started off two weeks ago. When we started this, we started with one of our basic Lionel HO house kits, and as I said that week, I decided I was not going to build it anywhere close to the instructions. So for those who've seen these kits before, and I should have had the box handy, but let me go grab it real quick so you have a comparison of what this started off as. Oh, never mind. We'll come back to that later. We'll post a picture with the Facebook page tomorrow. This started off as one of our house kits. Honestly, I'm not sure. Remember which one? Maybe the Jones house, maybe the Phillips house. We have these in different scales, variety of configurations, but none quite like this. So the first thing we did on here together was we chopped down some walls, made a 2-story house, a 1.5-story house with the dormers and so forth, and we did some basic painting of some of the parts to get things going. Since then, I've done a little bit of work just to keep us on track, and we'll go over some of that here tonight as we finish things up. There's still quite a bit to do on it, however. So obviously, the biggest thing we did was assemble the kit, and aside from cutting walls apart, there wasn't a whole lot different done on the basic kit assembly. It was gluing windows in, gluing glass into windows, window shades into windows, and so forth. And we've covered all of that in past Workbench Wednesdays. Glued the four main walls together, added the garage here on the side of the house. Did cut out the garage door. We're going to do an interior in this, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later. I've got something special planned for that, and that will probably be our next episode in 2 weeks. Looking on the underside or the inside of this now, you'll see a couple of things that have already started. We've got the light wires coming in here. These are from the large LED in the garage. We're going to put a peel and stick light in here tonight to light up the rest of the house as well. You see some bracing here on the inside of the walls. Because of the way we cut this building down, lost the backing for what would have been the foundation. So I simply took some scraps from those walls that we had cut off, or other pieces I had laying around, and glued them to the back to create a splice, and then glued the trim pieces for the foundation onto that. I could have done that a lot easier and a lot more directly with just using some straight styrene or balsa wood or what have you. I just decided I wanted to reuse the parts from the kit to use up as many materials as I could from what I had on hand. But that was a pretty simple process. And then I finished off the foundation with a little bit more of a touch after that, which we'll cover in a little bit. While we've got this upside down, let me go ahead and put in our light. I'm going to set this back down for a second. And I've got one of our Lionel peel and stick LED lights right here. These are really nice. They work, if I can find the camera. These work in every scale and gauge. You simply peel off this little backing sticker here and put it on the model wherever you'd like. He said you can't get the sticker off. Okay. I'm going to undo the wires a little bit. And for this one, I'm just going to apply it to the inside of the roof. I'm just going to go right up and about there. And our building has a light. When I go to wire this on at the end, I'll tie the wires from the main LED in the house to our garage, our special LED coming in from the garage, and hook all that up together. If you look here on the inside of the garage, you're going to see this really massive, ridiculously huge LED. And that's a special color changing LED that's going to do some neat effects in the garage for what we have planned in there for later on. That was actually salvaged from the test sample that we had of our fireworks building that's coming very soon in O-scale. I think Dave may have demoed that a few weeks ago on his Demos with Dave program. And when he found out what I was going to do in here, and it's kind of a tribute to one of his favorite bands, he went right along with it. So I was able to snag that out of work real easy, and it makes the wiring for this a lot of fun. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Otis is asking, would the light work on ceramic buildings? And yes, absolutely it would. We have them in both bulbs and LED, so take your pick. Neither one is generates really any heat. You don't have any concerns there. So if you have other light bulbs in your system in your village and you're already used to running the AC voltage for the bulbs, and you've got a common voltage there, you're good to go. And Chuck's asking if there are any resistors or voltage considerations for the light. And yes, there are voltage considerations. You don't want to pump, you don't want to plug this thing right into your wall outlet, obviously. But you can, but it'll work off of, I remember correctly, it's 12 to 14 or 12 to 18 volts AC or DC on these LEDs. So you've got a little bit of a range there. It's printed on the package, which if I grab here, that one I do have close at hand. 12 to 18 volts AC, DC. Your red is the positive, black is the negative for the LEDs. This is what they'll look like hanging on your dealer shelves in the store. This is the 15 pack. We have a smaller pack of these as well. But if you're building lots of buildings like I do, go ahead and get the 15 pack, and you'll be surprised how quickly you can go through these things. Really great, convenient product, and it works in again every scale. If you can fit this light in your building, you can use it in your model. So even N scalers could use these, or OG large gauge. They're a great little add-on to use in your buildings, and you can see how quick and easy that is to install. You just stick it right wherever you want it, and then hook up the wires to your accessories like you would any other bit of wiring. All right, so with all of our electrical work now done, let's flip it back over and take a look at the roof line a little bit. And this is where we're going to spend some time tonight. Well, actually, before I get to that, let me talk about the foundation one more time too before we move on. I wanted to give the foundation of this house something a little bit more contemporary of a look than the molded stone, random stone pattern that comes on the kit. And so to give this a concrete foundation appearance, all I did was take a small amount of drywall compound, not the pre-mixed stuff, but you go to the store and get yourself a big bag of drywall powder compound that you then mix with water to create your own spackle. And I use that because it doesn't shrink as much and it's easier to control the consistency that you want for whatever project you're working on. And it does a great job on kits like this for simulating a concrete or textured effect. And all I did then was spread a very thin layer of that mix, mixed it up fairly coarse to the point where it was just a little bit rough and pilly, and spread that over all of the plastic parts, including the steps here. Smoothed it out as best as I wanted. You can carve details in there if you wish. This works great for rock castings and other projects as well. But for here, all you need to do is get a nice smooth coat. And then once it's dry, painted it with a couple of different courses of gray and a light tan color to give it sort of an aged concrete look. And that was very, very easy to do and gives you a much nicer concrete effect than just the bare plastic look. Even on the steps, it gives it a pretty nice finish. And then you can stain it or weather it further as you like. Okay? But that was the trick to the foundation, and an easy way to improve those on any kit that you're doing. Then I turned my attention to the roof. The roof's probably the most complicated part of this build because there were a lot of changes made. I'm using the original plastic components to the roof itself for structural integrity and also so that I have a trim piece here on the side. But we're hiding all of that underneath new shingles, and obviously have created a new look to it. The dormers came from two of our kits, and were simply glued in place over the existing roof. I'm not going to put lights in either of those rooms, so I wasn't worried about light shining through. If I wanted to, however, it would have been very easy to just cut a hole in the roof and have that. And then on the back, went with one large dormer for a larger room here in the back of the house. And to get this piece, what I did was simply take another one of the wall sections from the kit and cut it down to get the size that I wanted. And I think in this case, it was the same. It was one of the pieces of the ends because it gave me the space I wanted and the amount of windows that I wanted. And then a couple of other small scraps to make the wings. And then the roof piece for here actually came from a porch part of the kit, which we're going to use separately as a deck on the back of the house. So that'll sit here on the back of the house like so. So for this, all I did was use the deck, the front porch that came with one of the kits, cut off the overhead pieces and left the roof off and gave it an open backyard deck look. So this will be a fun thing to detail with some lawn furniture, maybe a grill, who knows. I'll have some fun out there detailing that. But as I'm handling the model with a lot for the roof, I'm leaving that off so I don't continue to knock it off. With that done, this piece did have to then get cut into the roof. So that was a little bit tricky, figuring out where we wanted it. To make life a little easier, I did cut myself a little template out of a scrap piece of cardstock. And that gave me a chance to experiment a little bit on the size and placement of the dormer so that I knew where I wanted to cut the hole and slide everything into place. And with that done, it went pretty quickly. I used a Dremel tool, a cutoff disc and a Dremel tool to simply cut a hole in the roof. You could, if you wanted to, do this whole thing out of cardstock or wood. It'd be a lot easier probably actually to build it that way. Again, I wanted to use the pieces that I had in the kit as much as possible. And with that said, I think we're about ready to get into what's going to probably take some of the most time-consuming bit of tonight, and what I've been working on for several hours over the last couple of nights already, and that is putting some shingles on the roof of this house. I've got a couple other questions here I want to get to before we move on the lighting. Otis asks, are they compatible with Raspberry Pis or Arduino controller? And yes, they are. Anything that will put out that 12 to voltage in that 12 to 18 volt range, you can definitely use it with that if you want to rig something up to control multiple lighting effects, turn lights off and on, for example, in various buildings or rooms in the building at different times to simulate activity going on inside. Definitely can do that. Very, very easy to do so. And T Crash Production says, hey, Ron, just got my first Legacy engine, the new Legacy Mikado, and want to say y'all do amazing work. And thank you for that. It's good to hear. The Mikado is a fun engine. We do a lot of those, and they always do really well. And so, even though we're focused on the Workbench tonight, I'm not going to let a good compliment like that escape without saying thank you. So, knowing that you guys are enjoying it is actually what makes it worthwhile and fun for us too. So, with that, let's get into laying some shingles. Now, the shingles that I'm going to be putting on the model tonight are a laser cut product, and you can get these from a lot of different sources. This particular batch comes from Minuteman Scale Models, and I will put their banner up on their website here up on the screen if you want to go looking for these guys. Again, this is not the only source for these, but it's one of the ones that I've used and really like. Minuteman does a lot of other product besides just this. They do some simple craftsman kits. If you want to try to handle a nice beginner craftsman kit, I highly recommend those. And they also make the line of scale coat paints, which we use in-house on some of our production in-house, and I've used on models a lot. And while I will use the cheap dime store 50-cent bottles of craft paint for a lot of buildings and weathering projects, if I want to do a model that's really pristine and really nice, high quality model, I will go to those scale coat paints anytime. So highly recommend all of those. But MinutemanScaleModels.com if you're looking for these shingles. You can find them from other sources too. Bar Mills makes them. Their KC Workshop. There's a variety of companies that have these available that you can pick up, and they all do mostly the same thing, and they're all designed for this same purpose. So what I like about the Minuteman in particular is that these come printed and cut on a self-adhesive backing. So just like our peel and stick lights, these are peel and stick shingle strips. And you can get these in a variety of colors. You can get them in a variety of sizes for different scales. And you can get them in a variety of styles too. These are 3-tab shingles. You can get wood shake shingles. You can get slate shingles or cedar shingles. You can get a whole variety of different styles and colors and sizes to meet your needs. Very easy to work with these. And I'll show you how they go on here real quick. They come in a large sheet. And the first thing I do before I put them on the model is I'll take a little bit of a complementary color, but slightly contrasting color, and just paint some streaks over it. So you can probably see some of the light gray streaks here on this starter sheet. And it doesn't look great when you do it on here, but as you lay these on and you stagger your shingles, what it will give you is the effect of some random off-color shingles and a little bit of extra character to the roof without the trouble of having to go step by step and paint each individual shingle that you want to highlight. A much faster way to do that. Then you simply cut out the strips, and you're ready to get started. One pack of these shingles, by the way, is plenty to do the kit that I've got here, and you'll have some left over to spare to give you a sense of how many you might need to buy for a model. All right. So once you've got your strip off, peel off the backing. And we can lay on our next course. I'm going to work here on this dormer in the back, where it's a pretty easy, straightforward line. Just like shingles on a real roof, you want to stagger your joints and then try and keep everything as straight as you can. And the 3 tabs, we're just overlapping the top part of the shingle. Press that down. You can use a pair of scissors, nippers, whatever you want to use on these. Snip them off at the end, and then go to the next course. It's that simple. Now, I think right here, I can go to one up. I think I can make, I'm going to make one more path here before I do the transition and go across the whole top. When you're doing rows like this, it actually goes pretty quickly. It almost becomes kind of therapeutic as you sort of work along and build up your roof. And the next thing you know, you've got a nice row of shingles. If they're not lining up quite right for you, Just trim it a little bit. You don't always have to worry about cutting each row perfectly at the end either. If it's easier to let a few extras hang over, not a problem. You can come back later and trim off the whole roof to even everything up. I'm going to use this little short remnant here in the front on these cursed shingles or dormers. Just set that there for now. Come back to the back. All right, I think I'm far enough along. Oops, actually, I want to get one more strip in the middle before I do the whole back. Don't I? I had hoped that I would have all of the shingles on this by the time, or almost all the shingles anyway on this by the time we started tonight, so that we could just dive right in, do the last couple, show off the crown at the top, and then get right into detailing. But this took a little longer than I expected. Not bad, just a little longer, especially on the front with all these crazy dormers, which we'll cover in a little bit. Now, I am going to trim up here before I get to the front so that I've got an even piece to work with. And now I think we can lay right across that joint and tie the dormer and the main roof together. If you run short, not a big deal. Just piece the next one right on there. Until you put the next course over the course you're laying down now, you can adjust and move things around a little bit if you need to. You can even peel it off and peel it back down. Once you put the next course over, just like on a real roof, those shingles tend to lock the lower row into place, and it's harder to make adjustments. Hopefully this doesn't create an echo. Yes, it does. Hang on, let me try it. Okay, can you hear me now? Nope, you can't. Try and silence that. Hopefully there's not too much of an echo. Can you hear me now? Okay, good, we can hear me now. All right, you may get a little bit of an echo off of my phone. That's why I usually use the phone as the mic. I can't turn the volume off all the way on that. Um, Actually, what I can do, hang on, this. Does that solve the echo problem? I think it did. Okay, that was going to drive me nuts if I had to keep listening to the echo. So we'll have to get a little more creative with the workbench cam here, but you can hear me now, so that's what matters. Going back to Otis's question earlier on what kit they would recommend to start, I think all of our Lionel kits are a great start, whether it's O gauge or HO. If you want to start with a plastic kit, these really are they were designed for beginners. And what I like about them is they are very customizable. If you don't want to customize it, if you want to build it the way they are in the box, you're going to get a nice looking building. But as you get more experienced and a little bit more comfortable, you can start doing things like we're doing here and adding more details, changing the size of the walls, changing the shape of the building, figuring them in new ways, and finding new things to do with the model because they're adaptable like that. And that's the fun part of any kit. But for plastic kits, I think ours do represent a good value and a great place to start. The new kits that we have coming out later this year in HO, if you're an HO modeler, uh, having built the samples of those earlier for the catalog, I'm very anxious to get my hands on them again as production pieces when I can do more than just build them the way they are in the cover and have a lot of fun because they went together really well all around and will be a lot of fun to kit bash. Start with something simple. Start with a simple four-sided structure, a roof, and just a basic kit, and get the basics down. Once you've got the basics of building a kit down, the rest is just repetition and practice. And you can get a little bit more tricky, a little bit more challenging each time that you go. But you build up as you want to build your talents. Over the past year and a half, 2 years, I got more interested in craftsman kits, something I had kind of wanted to try but hadn't really gotten too heavily involved in, and had extra time at home like a lot of people over the last year. So I figured what better time to try, and I tried several new mediums from wood to hydrocal plaster, metal, cardstock, and I've come to enjoy that modeling as much, if not more, than plastic kit modeling. So don't let the idea that something is a craftsman kit or not for beginners scare you away. They all really fall back on the same basic principles of good modeling. And once you've got your techniques down, you can do anything. Of course, a lot of the fun too is learning the new techniques and learning the new challenges. So don't be afraid to try new things, and that's what we're here for on this program. A couple times a month to do just that. Um, so get back to our modeling here. I'm going to try and do this and hold up a few things. It'll be a little bit more difficult without being able to bring in the remote camera, but I don't want to lose sound. So we'll make this work. The front of this house is definitely the most difficult part, and that's by adding these two dormers. It's going to look nice when it's finished, but I'll be saying some rather choice words after we get off the air, and I'm finishing these tonight because it's just tedious. You've got to feather in your angles um, as you layer your pieces on top of each other, just like you would do on a real roof. Now, one way I could do this and cheat a little bit would be simply to run some flashing along the line here. Um, a couple simple strips of cardstock or styrene, give it a copper color, and just put some flashing down that, and then it becomes real easy. But for this one in this style of house, that probably wasn't going to be the case. They would typically weave the shingles, and so that's what I'm working to do here. I'm sure that's not a lot of fun up on a hot roof, but it's certainly not any much more fun when you're doing it with tweezers and a small knife either. But bit by bit, these are coming together. The other side's a little bit further up, and you can see how those weave together, and you get a nice dormer at the end. The biggest challenge will be the middle, where you've got to work both sides at the same time. As I said, like the shingles on the back, take your time, keep the rows straight, keep the shingle spacing offset, and just take your time, one row at a time, row by row. You'll build up your roof and get a good looking result. You can see here the marks that I made all over the roof to line everything up, since this was a bit of a kit bash. I wasn't putting pieces where they were designed to go, but very easy to glue them in place once we had it all figured out. With the roof coming together, the last step for this building is going to be to do some extra added details. And that's probably my favorite part of the kit, of any kit, actually, or a project, is taking it and transforming it into something new. I've already hinted a little bit that we'll be adding some neat things into the garage. I'm going to do a little scene in there, and we'll be putting some other details around the house as well. I was hoping to show you tonight how to build some very quick and easy window boxes for the front of these things. It's a common detail you see in a lot of houses, and a really easy one to model and enhance your kits with. So I'm going to try and put the messy workbench cam back into the broadcast here, and we'll see if now maybe the sound has decided to come back and cooperate with us. But let me give you just 1 second to reboot the phone, and hopefully this will work. That might be my problem. Bear with me, please. Okay. Okay, I'm going to try muting here. Great. Can you hear me? If you can't hear me, please let me know, and we'll give this another try. All right. Well, no one's telling me you can't hear me, so I'm going to assume we're good to go. Let's start adding some details. The details we're going to start with first are some window boxes. And to make window boxes, we're going to start with just some simple scraps of wood. Flip this around here. I've got them on my handy painting jig. These have already been painted up. All this is, I've got one more here that was left over from the scrap. This is some about 1/8 square wood post channel. These are really commonly used if you start building craftsman kits. You use a lot of this size for bracing on the inside of the kit. So I've got a good bit of this lying around, and it makes a great starting spot for these HO window boxes. If you're working in O gauge or S gauge, just scale it up a little bit. You want something that's going to scale out about 1 foot square. I put them on my painting jig here, which is just an old bottle cork with some sticky tack on it. And then you put the piece you want on there, and it gives you a great handle for painting. Painted them black. And now the next step would be to put on, to plant some flowers on there. So to do that, I'm going to use a little bit of glue. I've got wood glue here in front of me, so I'm going to use that. You could use white glue as well. But since I've got some wood glue out, I'm going to just use it. Use one of my favorite modeling tools, the toothpick. And spread a little on what will be the top of the window box. Now for our plants, I'm going to use just some scraps of ground foam and foliage from previous scenery projects. I'm just going to glue that right on top. Get too carried away here. And then last but not least, we want to add a little bit of color. We've got some. This is apricot. Any color would do, whatever color you want your flowers to be. Multicolors will work just fine too. And I'm just going to touch a few spots here on the ground foam. Give ourselves some flowers. We can add some different colors here too. Let's see, what do I have close at hand? Just use some of this buttermilk. Apricot and buttermilk. Interesting combination of colors, but it will work. When you're doing details like this, whether it's the colors of your flowers that you're putting in or other details around the model, one of the things I recommend is to think in terms of contrasting colors. So since our model here has a lot of red, grays, white trim on the windows, I probably want to stay away from red flowers or white flowers. Purples, blues, oranges, yellows, things that are going to jump out and give it a little bit of color will stand out better, and you'll see those details more just by having the brighter colors. The same will go for other details that we'll put around the house. If you're going to put lights, mailboxes, trash cans, electric meters, shelves here in the garage, we want to put just different colors to brighten it up, and those details will pop a lot more because they don't blend into the wall behind it. Once our flowers are done, we just have to glue our window boxes onto the wall. And for that, I'm going to use some CA or super glue. If I have any left in here that's still usable. Looks like this may have finally hardened up on me completely. It has. Failing that, I'm going to go to my other standby. This is Aleene's Tacky Glue. It's a sort of a mixture of a white glue and Gorilla Glue type of thing. It works really well for details. It's certainly a lot tackier and stronger than white glue would be. Obviously, I can't use plastic cement on this because it's going onto wood, and using just a straight wood glue or white glue won't give me as good of a bond on the plastic. So this is a good happy medium, but super glue would probably be my first choice here because I know that will stick and bond. Put a little of that there. And then I'm going to put it right under the window ledge. one. Here's another. I remember as a little kid helping my father build window boxes for the house we grew up in. So that's maybe why it's one of my favorite details to add. Brings back good memories. But these are very easy to do. And so I can get a little bit of a delay here, but hopefully you're seeing them on the model. And that little bit of color definitely helps help pick that up this year, this bit. A little bit more color in the front. Now we can continue then as we get this on the layout, put some shrubs and more things in front of the house, and you'll really finish that detail off. But that's a quick and easy detail that costs you basically nothing but some scraps and definitely dresses up the front of any building. You can build those in no time. Another good question from Otis, as I'm bouncing back and forth with comments here. Is there going to be a warehouse sale at Concord this year? He's planning his vacation to come down and visit. At this point, it doesn't look like we'll be doing one this year. That could still change, but I'm pretty confident at this point we will not be doing a warehouse sale this year. What you can do, however, come down whenever you'd like at our retail store over in Concord Mills Mall, which is open 7 days a week. Throughout the year, we've been taking some of the items that we normally hold back for the warehouse sale as they're refurbished by customer service as they have time or as we get other things in. And we've been taking them over there bit by bit and selling them there. So there's always something new and exciting and discounted there to pick up. Plus, all of our operating train displays are there now too. So it's really a great place to go and see a lot of things in action. You can meet Chuck, who's here on the program with us every week. He's a great modeler too, and can help you answer questions you may have. We've got a great staff over there all the time who love to help out. It's a really beautiful setting, beautiful store. So highly encourage you if you're planning on being somewhere down in the Charlotte, Concord, North Carolina area to make that one of your stops on the trip. And there's lots of other great train related things to do down here as well, from Spencer to train watching in Concord and everything else. There's some great museums not far from here in South Carolina and Georgia. So definitely worth making a plan like you do. All right. Some other details that we're going to put on here. I started by pre-painting these, and I'll give you a link for where I've picked these up as well, so you can add more on. As I mentioned, doing the final details is almost a project and a hobby into itself, because once you get into this part of it, the models really start to take life and you can customize to your heart's content. I did not save the chimney from the kit, but our house is going to get awfully cold here if we don't give it some form of heating. So I decided I was going to need a new roof vent of some sort. And that prompted me to go dipping into my boxes of parts and look for some castings. So what I've got here on this tray, which is probably hard to see because it's not under the camera and too far away, are quite a variety of white metal castings. And these have all been given a quick coat of gray spray paint primer so that the paint will adhere to them as we move on to the next steps. But these will all end up on this model, or at least most of these I think will end up on this model somewhere. We've got some shelves full of various things for the garage, little air compressor here. May or may not tuck that in there. Some trash cans. You need trash cans outside the house. Smoke jack for the roof. Some more cabinets and so forth. I'll find an electric meter, all sorts of little things to add and spruce up the details. The details I'm using here, and you can get these again, just like the Minuteman's not the only one who makes the scale shingles. You can get these all over the place. But the details I'm using tonight, and I'll just do another quick shout out here. These come from Foscale Models, and they are another great source for those who are getting into the hobby. Well, again, they tend to focus on you would typically want to think these are more of a craftsman kit type of market. They make things that are very beginner friendly, and there's lots of great tips. And they're a small company, but very responsive and very easy to work with. And one of the things they have is called the Detail of the Month Club. So once a month, a little bag like this shows up at the house, filled with a bunch of random white metal castings, and you never know what you're going to get, and it's sort of like 12 Christmases a year. But they quickly come in handy as you build projects like these, because you've always got something on hand when you need a chimney, when you need that extra little detail. Sometimes you don't really even know what it is you're looking for. You just know you need something, and that's when it's fun to go into your bag of detail parts and see what you can find. But there's no shortage of detail castings out there, especially in today's world with 3D printing and whatnot. You have not only your resin parts and your white metal castings, but 3D printed parts that you can pick up with amazing detail on them at very reasonable prices, and customize your models. So I highly recommend any of those sources. We're just going out and looking for things like that. As you start getting into building kits, look for ways like this to enhance your models and enhance your modeling. There's just a plethora of options out there, and once you get hooked on it, like I said, it almost becomes a hobby in and of itself, is doing the detail work and the fine painting and so forth. And it's what really makes the model come alive and makes it unique. So highly recommend those sites as places to go for some extra details you can add onto your model. We make a lot of things in our lines with Lionel, figures and other things, but one company can only make so much. It's the beautiful thing about this model train industry is we all work together and we all support each other. And even though obviously I'm a Lionel employee and this is a Lionel program, I'm not going to tell you not to go and expand your horizons and build your layout using materials from wherever you can find them. That's what's going to make you a better modeler and more interested in the hobby and keep doing it long term. And that's what is best for everybody in the industry. So we work together and we come up with new products and try and fill in gaps where other companies haven't filled them in yet. So if you're just getting started, start with a nice basic kit, but you can take even the most basic kit and with a few detail castings, kick it up to the next level in no time. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to save painting some of those castings and doing the interior of the garage with the lighting and everything else. I'm going to save that for 2 weeks from tonight. It'll give us something on tap to talk about. I'll finish up the shingles on here tonight so we can post the picture of the finished product tomorrow, because that's the important thing. I mentioned it at the beginning, but want to mention it here at the end again, that if you've been building along with us, and hopefully you have, please go on to our Facebook page tomorrow. Once I post a picture on there, sometime in the morning, I'll get the picture up after I get through the morning barrage of emails and so forth, and submit a photo of your kit that you've been working on. We want to see what all of you have been doing. I know some people took advantage of the offer we had on lionelstore.com for a discount on the kit. So hopefully you got those and have been building, or you visited your local dealer, or you already had a kit on hand and this was just a good excuse to get to the workbench and try something. Take a picture of it. Don't be ashamed if it's not even 100% finished yet, or it didn't come out quite the way you wanted. Put it up there, because we're going to pick a person at random from those entries, and we'll be sending out a $25 gift card for lionelstore.com. So you have a chance to win and enhance your modeling budget a little bit, as well as sharing your talents with everybody. Because honestly, I'm as curious as to what everyone else has been working on as I am interested in what I'm doing here. I'd like to see what people do, especially with Lionel kits and where your imagine takes you, because that's how we all get inspired. We're all inspired by each other's modeling and tricks. So as you see someone take a kit that was designed to go one way and build it a different way, or just sometimes painting it a different color, you see a new color combination or a new angle on things that you never would have thought of on your own. So together we all build better, and that's why we're doing things like this. So I'm going to wrap it up here for tonight so I can get back to putting shingles on this building and trying not to lose my mind on these dormers. Dormers are to shingles as shingles are to chickenpox, I think. They just make it miserable. But we'll get all these angles done up and put together, and I'll put a chimney in this thing and a little light weathering and call it done for now. And we'll come back to it in 2 weeks and have some fun on the inside. All right. So until next time, everybody out there, please keep on modeling, stay safe and well, and stay on track. And thanks for being with us.